Speaking to me now is Craig Bennett. He's Chief Executive of Friends of the Earth. Now, make it clear, Craig, these aren't organised by your organisation, Friends of the Earth, these protests. They're from Extinction Rebellion, very separate organisation. But you at Friends of the Earth have been supportive of their protests.
We have. I mean, we think it's time is up now, really, for politicians to really act on climate change. We've been talking about it for years, for decades. We've seen some action, but the only way to really judge it is it enough to stop the huge emergency that we're facing? And it's not. So I think if you sort of agree with history that what the suffragettes did was right, well, then it's time for us to sort of up the ante on this.
Now, this is the Green Party deputy leader brought the suffragettes into this as well. Is everyone aware that the suffragettes used direct action after decades of not getting listened to and not getting a vote? You, like me, have a vote. If you want people to support your aims, why don't you vote? You can vote for the Green Party in general elections. You can encourage other people to. Shouldn't there be more? This should be more about convincing people of the argument and of the need, convincing politicians, rather than stopping people going about their daily business.
Yeah, and Friends of the Earth has been really successful at convincing millions of people that this is a really important issue and that we need to do it. The real issue, though, with this, and which is different from the suffragettes thing, is time is pressing.
And you have a vote.
And we have a vote. But you know what, Julia? Democracy...
I genuinely think it's an insult to the women who lost their lives fighting for women to have a vote in this country to claim that this green cause and the right to protest in the streets is remotely limited.
Yeah, but come on, democracy isn't defined...
It's an insult.
Democracy isn't defined purely by how we vote, is it? It's how we engage.
Not? Well, it definitely isn't anymore after Brexit.
Your programme wouldn't exist if democracy wasn't also about healthy debate, would it? So we have to have healthy debate and get issues out there, and that helps shape how people vote when they get the chance and get engaged in things. And civil society, really important. People getting organised, involved in organisations like Friends of the Earth. That is what a healthy democracy is all about.
But that's the thing. But there's a difference, isn't there, between putting your point across, having a big campaign, maybe doing a march, and direct action where you actually, you block streets, block squares, stop people going about business, cost millions of pounds to businesses just trying to make a living. That actually affects ordinary people who've got no say over government policy.
You know what would be great is if politicians really started getting serious about this and treating it with the urgency it deserves, then you wouldn't need the kind of direct action.
So anything is justified. If you don't think the government is doing what you want, anything is justified.
I'm not saying anything is justified. I wouldn't necessarily agree with every single tactic. I would just say that actually we've got to do more than just sign the petitions and so on. And I understand that. But I think the real point here is there are so many solutions to climate change, and we need to get on with them.
But aren't we already doing them? One of the things that I think a lot of people have been frustrated about, and certainly I have, with what Extinction Rebellion have been doing, and also the statements of people like the 16-year-old Swedish girl, Greta Thunberg, saying, look, we're being lied to, nothing's being done, we've got to take action. If you do actually check what government is doing, with this government, of all the governments around the world, in the Western world, what are the most ahead of the game in terms of tackling these issues that you talk about, in terms of our green taxes, in terms of reliance on renewable energy, on tackling diesel cars, tackling carbon emissions. We are actually at the head of the curve rather than at the back of it.
But Julia, we can't judge action just according to what's happened in the past. We need to judge action against whether it's going to succeed in stopping.
So you're saying all of the stuff we've done so far that's costing us billions and billions of pounds isn't actually making any difference? In which case, why are we bothering to do it?
Billions of pounds. Climate change is going to be the biggest hit to the economy ever, according to economists. It's absolutely huge if we don't tackle it.
On what basis?
Well, I mean, it's going to add massive disruption to our global economy if we don't stop climate change. Let me just, if I can.
Why? The economy? No. The world economy adapts. The whole point of the capitalist
system. Can I read you one sentence?
Everything adapts.
I'll read you one sentence. So the big scientific paper published last autumn by the world's leading scientists. Decisions occurring over the next decade or two could significantly influence the Earth for tens of hundreds of thousands of years and potentially lead to conditions that resemble planetary states where it will be inhospitable for current human societies. Yeah. Decisions over the next decade or so. Why aren't we talking about anything else? All these other things are irrelevant compared to the survival of our civilization over the next decade or so.
I'll tell you why I think we're not. I think while most people, I think most people would say they are concerned about the environment, they certainly don't think we should be throwing plastic into the oceans. They want to make sure that we don't have higher carbon emissions, and they may not know all the science or understand all the science or be worried about a lot of the science around climate change, but they don't believe the alarmist, we're all going to die, catastrophic predictions that we hear from what is almost like a death cult now. And one of the reasons they don't don't is because actually, if you look at the IPCC papers, which I'm sure you have read from cover to cover, there are political declarations, but there's also much bigger documents, which are the underlying science behind them. A lot of these statements either aren't made by the IPCC, the Intergovernment Panel on Climate Change, but certainly they're not backed up by the actual scientific documents. There is a concern.
Oh, that's
yes,
not
no,
true.
no, it is
true.
the case that actually this alarmism, this we're all going to die if we don't do this or that now, that is simply
Julia,
not backed up by the science.
That's absolutely not true. The IPCC report says two things: that if we don't dramatically cut carbon emissions in the next decade, the problem is the Earth moves to a new state where actually we can't control this anymore, and it actually has runaway climate change. But it also says another thing: if we do act, we've got a chance of stopping this. Now, what I find amazing about this, we're all familiar with those Hollywood movies, aren't we? Where you see alien invaders.
Day After Tomorrow. And
Day After Tomorrow. Well, no, I'm thinking more Alien Invaders, Independence Day, or an asteroid's going to hit, Deep Impact or something like that. And you have one solitary scientist points out that this is going to happen, and the world all comes together to stop it. What you've got here, it's got tens of thousands of the world's best scientists saying this is happening, we need to act. And you've got people saying, oh no, I think I know climate science better than you. It's ludicrous. We need to act.
No, people aren't saying that. See, people are simply saying that actually in the scientific documents that back up those political declarations, which they are political declarations for the IPCC, the alarmism, we're all heading to a catastrophe, is not backed up by the science or the computer models.
I've read those. That's not true. It is in there. I'll tell you what, though.
Will you
it's
email
in
me
lots
later?
of scientific language and stuff, yeah. But admittedly. But it's really clear that it's in there. And, okay, there's different probabilities on this and all those kind of things.
There we are,
But,
you see.
Well, of course, but look.
But that's it. It's about probability. It's about computer models.
Julia, would you get on a plane that had a 95% chance of crashing? No, and you say, oh, well, it's only 95%, not 100%. No, you wouldn't, would you?
I think
if there was a 5% chance of it crashing. Now, here, what you've got is scientists telling you there's a 95% chance of it crashing. You don't hang on to the 5%.
We are. I don't think that's remotely a relevant analogy. At 9:47, I am going to have to end this. But genuinely, I think one of the big issues that we are talking about this an awful lot. But again, a lot of this is an economic decision about how much we spend mitigating the climate change issues that are going to be rising, and how much we spend in terms of industrialisation, how many lives are going to be improved by one or the other.
We're going to have to invest trillions of dollars in energy and transport in the years ahead, whatever, even if climate change didn't exist. Let's just choose to do it in a way that doesn't make climate change worse.